Hi everyone, this video walks through completing Packet Tracer Assignment 3.4.5, Configuring Trunks. This Packet Tracer assignment is a part of the Cisco Switching, Routing, and Wireless Essentials version 7 Cisco Networking Academy curriculum. Now, this lab assignment builds on our previous one in Module 3, where we configure the VLANs, configure each port for switch port mode access to carry one VLAN, unless we are carrying, the only way we are carrying with switch port mode access more than one VLAN is if we are doing a voice, and there's a special way to do that. Remember, if you put a switch port, any of them, in access mode, it can only carry one VLAN's traffic. So for instance, 10 and 10 here, and I'll draw a little box around each one again, just to show the different, you don't have to do this, it just shows what VLANs they're in, kind of color coding them almost. We'll use red for one, for VLAN 20 there with PC2 and PC5, both of those are in VLAN 20, and we'll use green for VLAN 30 down there at the bottom for PC3 and PC6. All right, so in this, we want PC1 and 4 to be able to communicate with each other, PC2 and 5, and PC3 and 6. So again, this link here, FA011, that's connected off of S2, we only want it to carry VLAN 10 traffic, and we'll put it in switch port mode access, switch port VLAN 10. All right, we also have to make sure we create the VLANs on each switch. Remember, we do that with VLAN and the name command. And then we also, like for instance, the rest of these, FA018 needs to be just for VLAN 20. All right, and then FA06 just for VLAN 30. And then we repeat that process over here for switch 3. Now, in the grand scheme of things, that's what we did in our previous lab. However, when we want to be able to communicate from PC1 to PC4, we also have to travel. If you think about the traffic, it goes from PC1 down FA011 to switch 2, then it leaves switch 2 and goes over to S1. S1 sends it to S3, and then S3 will put the frame on FA011 and send it to PC4. Remember, we call this stuff a frame at layer 2 at switching, not a packet. Packets are layer 3. But when we go from here to here, from PC1 to the switch, this FA011 is fine to carry only one VLAN. However, when we go from switch to switch, the switch links from switch to switch, from switch 2 to S1 and S1 to S3, will also have to carry VLAN 20 and 30 traffic, because even if I'm doing VLAN 30, it goes to switch 2. This link between switch 2 and switch 1 needs to carry multiple VLAN traffic. For that to work, we will set this not in access mode between switch 2 and switch 3, or sorry, switch 2 and switch 1 and switch 1 and switch 3, the gigabit Ethernet interfaces that are here. We want to put that in trunking mode. Trunking mode can carry multiple VLAN traffic. So it tells us to display a current list of VLANs. So let's make sure they have these configured correctly. I'm going to widen it out so I can see my results a little better. Enable, show VLAN brief. And we do have those VLANs created in this lab. You also notice we have the access mode already in each one. So here for VLAN 10, it's on FA011. That is correct. I know it kind of looks like that's FA018, but it actually goes to the one below it for switch 2. And then that is VLAN 20 there. And then VLAN 30 is for FA06. If we go check that on switch 3, we should see similar VLAN creation and correct assignments. This is not a troubleshooting lab, so everything they have configured so far should be okay. So we're going to do show VLAN brief, and we see here the 10, VLAN 10 is traveling over FA011. That's up there. FA018 is traveling for VLAN 20. That's there in the middle for PC5. And then lastly, FA06 with VLAN 30 down there at the bottom with PC6 connected to FA06. Let's also make sure the VLANs are created on switch 1. We shouldn't have any port assignments like we did before, but it should still have the VLANs. So we'll do a show VLAN brief. And we do have the VLAN, so that is good. All right, but again, we noted the G01 to G01, both of those are going to need to be a trunking mode. G02 to G02 will need to be in trunking mode, okay? Not access mode. Remember, access mode can only carry one VLAN. Trunking can carry multiple, and they will have to carry all the VLAN traffic from the different VLANs. We can do this in a range. The range command is very convenient for us, so we don't have to go in and out of multiple interfaces. Like we don't have to do interface G01, do all those commands, then exit out. Then go into G02, do all the same commands, then exit out. We can actually do the range command. It will pull up both interfaces, and anything we type there, we want to be the exact same. So you couldn't use this if you were configuring, like let's say an IP address on multiple interfaces on a router or something. Remember, we don't have any any IP addressing on a physical interface on a switch unless it's a layer 3. But here, the interface range command, you have to do the exact same commands on all of them to be able to use that. So we're going to use that and then put it in trunking mode. So let's start with switch 1 here. And we're going to go to configuration mode and do interface range G01 and then the -2. That means 1 through 2, because remember we have to do the left side, which is G01, and the right side, which is G02. And we're going to put that in trunking mode, so switch port mode trunk, not access. Okay, and you see it says change to up. And then we're going to do a native VLAN. What the native VLAN is it basically is a way for the switches to communicate, keep the trunk link up, as well as communicate for some other back-end information. So we're going to do switch port trunk native VLAN 99. And we created that VLAN 99 already, or we didn't. It was already created in the lab. All right. And that native VLAN, though, must match on, and you see the mismatch coming now, it must match on all of the trunk links on both ends. So the mismatch comes because this end, if we look at S2, and we're looking for G01 there, if we do a show run and look at G01, you see here, it doesn't have anything assigned there. So let's go to G01 and do the same things here. Interface G01. Oops. It's going to keep nagging you with that. So interface G01. And we don't have to do G02 because, again, there is no G02 on S1 connected. So we'll do switch port mode trunk, switch port trunk native VLAN 99. So what that does, now you see it says unblocking because the port consistency is restored. So we'll go do the same thing over here. And again, the native VLAN must match on each end. The native VLAN by default is always 1. So we'll go to configuration mode, interface G02, I believe it is on this side. It is. And we'll do switch port mode trunk, switch port native VLAN 99. Oh. And you see it say port consistency restored now. So it has to match not just the mode. One end can't be in access mode and one end in trunking mode. That also does not work. Both ends need to be in trunking mode. Also, both ends need to have the same native VLAN or it does not work. All right. So now our connectivity is restored and we have 100% in our lab assignment. So in this lab assignment, we already had the VLANs created, but if you need to go back and practice that, remember that's in our previous lab. But the main thing to take away is switch to switch communication that needs to carry multiple VLAN traffic. It needs to be in trunking mode and the native VLANs need to match. And we also learned a new command with the interface range command if you need to do the exact same commands on more than one interface.